And now, Paradigm Unhinged with your radio host, Ken Storch and Todd Knurr.
Good evening and welcome to Paradigm Unhinged on the Inception Radio Network. We want to remind everybody to visit our website, paradigmunhinged.com. Like us at our Facebook page. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. We've got that up and running now. So follow us on Twitter. Call in with questions. 1-888-919-2355. And you can also log in the internet chat room on the Inception Radio Network. And if you have any questions, just type Todd and the question in all caps. We also have free iPhone and Android apps at the appropriate application stores on the web. And if all else fails, if you don't have a computer, you don't have a smartphone, you can just call in on a regular landline or a regular cell phone and listen to the show that way. There's two numbers you can do that. There's 1-832-280-0830 and 1-786-837-2262. And if you missed any of the shows, you can go to our website, Paradigm Unhinged, and at the top of the page, you'll see a link for show archives. Click on that link, and it takes you to the page that has all of our previous shows. Just click on the show you want and download it to your computer. And we're going to be adding a little new segment on the show at the very end of the show tonight. I'm going to call it We Know Who You Are. So stick around for that. Tonight, we've got some incredible folks here tonight. We've got the former Vatican translator, Mauro Biglino, and his strategy advisor for the U.S. and international markets, Greg Pelusa. And we're just going to jump right into tonight's show. Our first segment on tonight's show is going to be Origins of Man. Greg, you want to talk to our audience?
Yes, thank you, Todd. Thank you for having me. And also on behalf of Mr. Biglino, that doesn't speak English, but he speaks very well in Italian. So just before going into the first topic of the evening, I think it is important to outline that Mr. Biglino has worked on the ancient Hebrew text of the Bible, which is known as the Leningrad Codex, and we are talking about 1008 AD. And the Leningrad Codex is accepted officially as the Hebrew source of the Bible, both by the Catholic authorities, the Vatican, both by the Protestant churches, and this is very important. Also, I want to remark that the approach of Mr. Biglino has been to retranslate the ancient Hebrew text of the Bible devoid of any theological dogma and to translate literally, word by word, the text, just saying what is written inside of it. And this is very important because nobody in the last 2,000 years has ever done anything like that, I think. Also, I want to remark, as he said, Todd, that Mr. Biglino, about his credentials, he has worked for 10 years for the main publishing house of the Vatican before starting to publish his own books in Italy. And this publishing house is called Edizioni San Paolo. And after Mauro Biglino began to publish his own books in Italy independently, of course, he was fired from this publishing house of the Vatican. And another point that I want to remark before giving the word to Mr. Biglino is that Biglino, in all his conferences, is always saying, I'm not a guru, I don't have any truth to tell you, I just tell you what is written in that book, what is written in the Bible, in the original Hebrew text of the Bible.
And that Hebrew text, that's called the Masoretic text, is that correct?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it is the result of the work of the Masoretes, which were the purists, which has been done between 600 AD and 900 AD. And the closest reference that we have is called the Leningrad Codex, which is from 1008 AD. And the current published version is the Biblia Hebraica Studiatensia. It's a bit complex, but to go into the core of it, it is the original Hebrew text of the Bible, which is always referred to as the Leningrad Codex.
Now, the Masoretes, that was a branch of Judaism, sort of, like the different branches of Christianity at that time. They were one of several branches of Judaism. Is that correct?
Yes. Now for the details, it's better that we call upon Mr. Biglino to talk directly, and I will just translate your question to Mr. Biglino in Italian, so he can answer that in Italian, then I will translate back into English for you. So he's asking if the Masoretes, chiede se i Masoreti erano una delle scuole ebraiche che studiavano gli antichi testi.
Sì, allora innanzitutto thank you for having me. I'm sorry, but I don't speak English, so Greg will translate. Sì, era una delle 4 scuole che operavano sugli antichi papiri, sugli antichi codici, per arrivare ad una definizione della Bibbia in modo che più nessuno potesse toccarla.
Okay, now I translate what Mr. Biglino said. Yes, the Masoretes were one of the 4 schools that were studying the original text of the Bible, trying to make the text as pure as possible with the original meaning, so that nobody else could touch it.
How did the Masoretes get that responsibility? How were they chosen? Does Signor Biglino know?
E furono scelti i Masoreti, non un'altra scuola, per fare questo lavoro.
In realtà non furono scelti, erano scuole nate di per sé e poi si è imposta questa perché è stata ritenuta la più accettabile per le dottrine che si dovevano divulgare.
Ok, grazie. It was not that the Masoretes took the main role by themselves. I mean, they were recognized as the most faithful and the most reliable source for the original Hebrew text of the Bible.
I see. And I suppose now we should talk about the origins of men and the Tselem.
Oh, sure.
Sì, per le origini dell'uomo possiamo dire che la Bibbia parla chiaramente di un intervento di ingegneria genetica.
Mr. Biglino is saying that with regard to the origin of man, the biblical text, the original Hebrew biblical text, is speaking very directly and very clearly of a genetic engineering intervention.
Quando in effetti la Bibbia ci dice che gli Elohim hanno fatto l'uomo, ci dice che hanno fatto l'uomo a loro somiglianza, ma usando quel quid di materiale che conteneva la loro immagine e che si chiama Tselem.
Okay, so I guess we are going to Genesis 1:26. which was translated not correctly in our modern Bibles, and because the correct translation should not be, and God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." This is a wrong translation. The original Hebrew text is saying this. And the Elohim said, "Let us make man with the tselem of us as our likeness." And now Mr. Biglino has to speak about what is this tselem. The tselem, he just said, is not an image. The tselem has a very specific meaning in the Bible, in Hebrew, in the Hebrew language, which means something material which contains the image and which has been cut off from. So there is no doubt that today we should recognize the tselem as the DNA. So it is clear that there has been a total distortion of the original meaning of these very important verses of the Bible, of Genesis 1:26, in our modern Bibles. Because
devo dire che dei filologi ebrei, quindi ebrei studiosi della Bibbia dal punto di vista linguistico, mi hanno scritto che loro sanno da sempre che la Bibbia parla di ingegneria genetica, però questo è sorto dopo che io ho pubblicato i libri.
Okay, Mr. Biglino is saying something very, very interesting, because he says that some Hebrew scholars, some Jewish scholars, have said that to him privately that they know since very ancient times that the Bible speaks of some genetic engineering intervention on this point, and but they started to say this only after Mr. Biglino published his own books.
And that's what's so interesting, and actually such a groundbreaking discovery is, as Mr. Biglino says, that the tselem, what they're talking about, is actually not making man in our image, and we'll have to talk about our and the Elohim, but
yes.
But the strict translation means is it's like they're making man out of us, speaking as one of them, that we shall make man of us, from us, and that sounds like you said, genetic engineering. It's taking something from them and making us with that.
Yes, even it is very interesting that the fact that this word tselem, which is very clear, I mean the meaning is very, very clear, is repeated over and over again in the next verses. And like it is a very important point that the author of the Genesis, they want to remark.
E quando la Bibbia ci racconta della formazione di Eva, ci racconta proprio di un intervento chirurgico.
And moreover, in the next verses, when the Bible, we are in the book of Genesis, still is telling about the so-called creation of Eve, of the making of Eve, is speaking very clearly of a surgical intervention.
Perché ci dice che gli